singing. Is it time to go?
He has to take this call, just take 1 minute.
We have 4 miles along Van Born. 4 miles of houses that are anywhere from 80 to 50 years old. Virtually all stick-built. Virtually none of them were built during a period of time when we had the current 15-minute flame barrier between rooms. Those houses are tinder boxes. The very idea that that's been the thing that drives me on getting those north and south stations open. Those houses can't be saved with a 6-minute fire. We've got to have more immediate response. And whether it comes from Helen Park or it comes from Romulus, the area that Jackie is talking about particularly is an area, and remember that's not just to Beach Daily, that's over to Monroe. That's that stretch of property. And it's just to my mind,
I believe the response should come from Taylor. And of course, the best resolution is, of course, to restaff the firehouse.
So can we do that for
When we,
$9,000?
yes.
where the money ends up, and that's up to you guys.
Yeah,
Well, you have essentially $9,000 that we're talking about here that I suspect is budgeted already.
And $1,500 a month.
And so $18,000 in salary cost, if it's $1,500 a month. So that's, just between $25,000 and $30,000. I mean,
Correct.
and you're saying the money's better spent on internal training?
You can keep our money here. I'm not in a position to say I want to give a $10,000 participation fee. And statistically, what we generally get from Western Wayne is we don't have a lot of shared fire response. It's generally hazardous materials response. Downriver has hazmat team.
Yeah, the downriver needs
If we can save this money and allocate it to another cause or wherever we end up putting it, I'm all in favor of that.
Okay, but I'm like, Rick, well, why don't we use it?
I have a question now.
Yes.
Why wouldn't we, since we have 60 firefighters, 55 or whatever line firefighters we have, why wouldn't we send them on company time as opposed to giving them overtime? Do they have to get overtime?
Well, if the training is on their off-shift time, yeah.
Oh, no, I'm talking about, you got 10 guys in the firehouse.
Well, here's the thing. Those positions are specialized trainings.
Sure.
So it's not like you could just jump in at any point. Particularly urban search and rescue takes about 2 years before you're even competent, okay? And before they actually let you.
They're only assigning one person to those task forces.
Yeah, so it's not like we could have a rotation of people going through. It's a specialized area. So if the training is, to occur on a day that they're off duty, they're on overtime. And a lot of times I hope that it works out that it's when they're on duty, and I have no problem releasing them to go, and we encourage that. It's just that we're generating costs at this point for trainings that, and I need to control that. Looking at my budget numbers, I've got to end up with in the black somehow so I can settle all of these other problems that we have. I certainly don't want to restrict our coverage or, but with the limited amount of funds I've got, I need them at home.
So you're saying it's about $30,000 a year is what we would be saving, am I correct?
Well, if we went with $1,500 a month times 12, that's $18,000 and
I'm
just
saying
under 9.
between $25,000 and $30,000.
About $27,000.
Okay, and that money is already, this money is already in the budget for the fire department for the next budget?
Yes.
Is that correct? All of it? $25,000,
For the
$30,000 is
18th
accounted for
part
for
of your
this?
overtime amount.
I'm sorry?
The 18th part of his overtime budget.
So how much does the in-house
How
training
could
cost
we
you?
do that?
Because
Depends
that's what
upon
they use
what
it
we're
for.
doing
It's
and the
assigned
frequency
overtime.
and how specialized it is, but,
I'm talking if we did.
I can anticipate at this point,
Transfer
if we were really doing it right,
to fund the
$10,000 a year in training costs.
10,000?
Yeah, I have a budget at this point of 3,000.
And do you, I mean, I'm gonna assume there's people there, including yourself, that are somewhat already trained, but you bring in specialists?
Yes.
Okay.
So for what it's worth, that is my thought on the matter.
So that money would have to go into a training budget, though, is that correct?
Well, right, depending the decision on this particular instance and what Ms. Reynolds is requesting, basically, it's the idea that we would interdepartment $18,000 or whatever the needs are for training out of overtime and into this training.
Because this is his overtime money?
No.
18,000 related to the people that have to do the training for those.
Right, but I'd say we have almost between $25,000 and $30,000. If we don't approve this,
18
you're at
of it is overtime.
but how could it be overtime if it has to go to this?
That's what it's being.
But no, not overtime if it goes to
Employees are the
the,
ones that
for
are,
the fees?
that's where the 18,000, no, we're only paying $8,000 a
He
fee.
says $1,500 a month for the, to pay him.
That's the personnel, that's the cost for the personnel to actually go to the training.
Oh, for
Western.
this,
Right.
I see.
So they're required to go to all that training. If
Okay,
they're not
so
on the
that,
normal
so if
schedule,
they're not
they
going
go
on the
anyways.
training, they,
We book
because I
them
wonder
as
what the
overtime.
$1,500, I thought he said it was for.
That's our responsibility, to book them as overtime.
Okay.
If you recall, a couple of weeks ago, we just paid the
Gotcha.
$20,000 bill for not having
Gotcha.
members on those teams.
Okay. Are we good?
I don't know if we're good, but I'm done.
So in your professional opinion, Chief, that this would not jeopardize anything that we currently are offering to our community? If we, okay, that's correct. I just want to make sure, I mean, I still sense a lot of uncertainty in this, and you know, I don't know that by tomorrow, you know, I'm trying to figure out a way to get all this out, so, you know, you
I can sense
obviously
it in
know.
you too. Let me say this, Dearborn Heights does not participate in the downriver, and they never have, even though they're a border community. Additionally, Allen Park is also not a part of Western Wayne, even though by all rights they could be. But they've opted out because the resources of downriver are sufficient.
And this has nothing to do with if we happen to go back to fire-based EMS. I know we're talking about responding to fires, but does this relationship with Western Wayne have any impact on if we have EMS services back?
If you can only receive what you can get, so at this point, without us transporting, we technically couldn't even call a Western Wayne community and request an ambulance because they're under no obligation to provide that because we can't reciprocate.
Isn't that ultimately what part of Dearborn Heights' issue is? I mean, that they're responding or not responding because we can't reciprocate?
In part, yes. And, you know, I spoke with their deputy chief and he said, you know, kind of in plain English, the Dearborn Heights Fire Department is paid for by the city of Dearborn Heights, and that's who we serve first.
Which we all do, right?
Yes. Now, listen, I would say this too. If there's an increase in revenue and the time comes when we can, I would be 100% in favor of rejoining. It's just with the limited funds that I have right now, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to make my budget work for, you know, what I feel is a high priority department.
So we don't go assist them either then, because they're not in Downriver Mutual Aid. We aren't obligated to.
The system, because we're in Western.
We wouldn't be, yeah, right, if we were just in downriver, we would be in no obligation. However, I would never tell them no. In fact, I would tell them regardless of the piece of paper, we're coming to help.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And that's a good thing to do. That's the way it should be.
it's the right thing to do.
We should help each other.
If we opt out and then at some point later in time we elect to rejoin, is there any consequence to not being in there? Sometimes, you know, there's new fees or dues or any
You
kind
know,
of.
and, you know, they've expressed to me that they would like to keep us because we've been a long-term member, but everybody has to understand that, you know, the budget crunch is affecting people in a different way. My belief is if we leave on proper terms, we'll be welcomed back as long as we bring $8,944 with us.
Bring the checkbook.
Pretty much. And we would have to draft a new interlocal agreement that has the updated language, file it with the clerk's office, and then we're back.
Okay.
Trust me, if I didn't feel that this was the right thing to do, I would have never even suggested it.
Madam Chair, we've also had a conversation with the chief of the Western Wayne Mutual Aid Group in relation to the discussions that I've had with DMA, which is the idea of trying to facilitate more cooperation between the mutual aid between the two entities, because they really don't cooperate very well together. And I think that, there's certainly some willingness to do that. We're the link, we're the connection between those two entities, because we're the only group that, that borders kind of all parts of that. So, we continue relationship now. I'm not sure I'm 100%. I think that as much as, I hear some of the council members as well, with this idea, we can potentially continue to have those conversations with the two parties, try to bring all those parties to the table and see how we can go. And I think as we get as far as much of the dialogue has been, we've had some of that initial dialogue with mutual aid, really comes down to creating more of an automatic aid scenario. The idea, as the councilman was saying, and the idea that we had to fire the northeast section of the city, best case response from our situation would be Taylor North or number 2, Allen Park off Roosevelt, and Dearborn Heights South. And that would be the best response to a fire in that particular location in our city, not all 3 units from our city. Plus, it would provide us additional coverage in the remainder of our city. So the only way to get to a scenario like that is to start creating, more of an automatic aid. But that also comes from dispatching. And mutual aid has started discussions again about the idea of creating mutual aid centralized dispatch. With the 911 system already in their hands, the 911 system in their hands, there's some possibility. It just really takes a driver, Mr. Renolds and I have had this conversation, a driver to really try to push expediting this discussion, because they typically are slow. You talk about a fire authority or fire regionalization that's been on the table since 1996. You can't keep dragging, and everybody's looking to kind of go down different paths to try to get to whatever their cost savings and structure, whether it's Mount Hill, Dearborn, what might be out there. So we got to figure out a way, and pooling those 2 resources together between the 2 entities, it's no different. If we didn't have DSAR right now, they're the search and rescue team, mutual aid would be calling Western Wayne, come and do it. We're going to have a bill. If we have an urban search and rescue situation in our city, right, we're going to call Western Wayne and we're going to get a bill.
Yeah, the resource will still be there, but what may come with it is a fee or...
So what we don't know is...
When we give mutual aid to them, though, not for those special things, we don't charge them, right?
At this point, no, but if we're not in the agreement, we would be under no obligation to. If they called us, we could technically send them a bill.
And Mayor, I'm not so concerned about the
I'm not
northeast
thrilled about that.
or the northwest. I'm more concerned about the north central. So when you say the northeast would be covered, I know where Roosevelt is, and the northwest would be covered by Romulus. You have north central that sits dead on there, and it's all the older homes. So I do understand the dynamics of it, but that's just, and I'm not saying he's incorrect. I know he's the chief. I just have to swallow real hard when I think about it.